Coming up on the Q30 Newscast, yesterday was Election Day, and we have a full analysis of all the results here in Hamden and across the state.
Learn about a Quinnipiac University student who's giving back to his community by leading a food bank.
And Veterans Day is on Friday. Hear from student veterans about their experiences on campus.
All that and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast. Good evening, Bobcats. It's Wednesday night at 9:30. Welcome to a special election edition of the Q30 Newscast. I'm Clever Streich.
And I'm Santino Maoni. It has been a big week, with voters casting their ballots for town elections and for their representatives in Congress. Let's get right into it.
Whether they voted red, blue, or for a third party, voters made their voices heard in last night's midterm elections.
Q30's Keith Savage spoke to Hamden voters outside of Westwood School on Tuesday to collect their thoughts on the ballot questions and their view on this pivotal election.
For Election Day, I am here in Hamden to talk to people from the area about the ballot and how the process changed throughout the years. Here at Westwood School, there were no classes for Election Day like every other school in the town of Hamden. 6 of the schools were used as locations for people to vote at for the day. One of the questions on the ballot for town residents was to pass a revision to the town charter. In this revision, the mayoral term was proposed to be extended from 2 to 4 years. I spoke to local residents about what they thought about this question.
Well, if it passes, that'd be great, because then the mayor can concentrate on actually being the mayor instead of canvassing and politicking every 2 years to try to get reelected. So I think it's great.
You have an election every 2 years. You spend half of that year campaigning and planning for that, and it leaves no time to actually dig in and look at legislatures and look at laws and figure out how to help anybody. So I think that if they were to do that, it would be a lot better.
The revision to the charter passed, and the length of the mayoral term will change in 2025. Year after year, the political climate in Connecticut changes, and this is something many voters have noticed.
I think things are a little more polarized now, but there's also a lot more regular people involved with politics, so I think that part's a good thing.
Bob Ritchie has worked at 6 different poll locations for about 25 years. He explains how he has seen politics different throughout the time.
More arguments. There's more people that are convinced that their side is right and the other side is wrong. I wish there were less of that. It would make my job probably easier.
A lot has changed throughout the years. We'll have to wait and see what the future will hold. From Q30 News, I'm Keith Savage.
Connecticut residents also voted in a question about early voting. The ballot asked if residents wanted to allow early voting in person for those who cannot make it to the polls on Election Day. The question passed, with about 60% of voters in favor. Prior to this, Connecticut was one of only 4 states that did not allow voters to cast their ballots early in person.
The results of the state governor race are in. Democrat Ned Lamont will remain governor of Connecticut for a second term. Lamont defeated Republican Bob Stefanowski by receiving 55% of the vote. Stefanowski has conceded the rematch election between the political rivals. Lamont spoke about his re-election at Dunkin' Donuts Park in Hartford last night, saying, quote, "Connecticut gets it right."
Most results are in from across the state for the Congress races. Starting with the Senate, Senator Richard Blumenthal has been re-elected for his 3rd term. He defeated Republican candidate Leora Levy.
And for the House, the first 4 district winners have been announced, with Democrats sweeping the election. In the 1st district, Democrat John Larson was re-elected, beating Republican Larry Laser and Green Party member Mary Sanders. In the 2nd district, Democrat Joe Courtney defeated Republican Mike France.
The 3rd district race also had a Democrat come out on top, with Rosa DeLauro being elected to keep her seat, and in District 4, Democrat Jim Himes took the win against Republican James Stevenson.
Finally, the 5th district held the most contentious race in the state. Earlier tonight, the Secretary of State released a statement stating Representative Jayana Hayes has won the majority of votes.
Speaking of state elections, there is a lot to unpack between the quick announcement of the winner of the state Senate seat and the close race for the House of Representatives seat in Connecticut's 5th district.
Q30 News executive producer Katie Cohen has more on these important elections and how they have been playing out.
On Tuesday, Connecticut voters across the state headed to the polls to vote in some contentious elections. Just 2 minutes after the polls closed at 8:02 p.m., the Associated Press called the state Senate race and named two-term Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal as the winner.
So I'm going to pledge to you that I will fight to protect and preserve Social Security and Medicare, but also lower taxes, cut inflation, and fight for the people of Connecticut, putting them first.
Senator Richard Blumenthal came right here to the Quinnipiac University campus this summer, where he talked to students and faculty in the School of Business. And now in his third term elected to the Senate, he hopes to continue to work with communities across Connecticut. His Republican opponent, Leora Levy, spoke last night after her defeat.
I will not stop fighting for our state, for our freedom, and for our great country.
In the race for the House of Representatives, there are 5 districts in the state. The 5th district had high stakes as it was projected to have an impact on the entire country. This district, located in the top left corner of the state, is known as Connecticut's most politically balanced area. Just hours ago, the Secretary of State office announced Democrat Representative Johanna Haynes has won the majority of votes and will be keeping her seat in the Senate. The votes were split 50-50 for most of the day today. Republican candidate George Logan spoke last night and expected the vote to be close.
It's not going to be by a landslide, I told you, right? It's going to be by the shortest of margins.
Tonight, Representative Hayes spoke, thanking those who voted and sharing her excitement to continue serving Connecticut.
Relieved to get this news, excited about winning for a third term for this district, and really just grateful to everyone who came out and voted.
For Q30 News, I'm Katie Cohen.
Thank you, Katie. Now, Clever, this is an election-themed show after all, so let's put the spotlight on even more political news.
Yes, Julia Barcello is here with us to share the latest in the Senate elections from across the country. Julia, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Tino and Clever. Last night was election night in America. Key states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Ohio had tight races, while others won the predicted party. As of right now, Republicans have control of the House, but the Senate is still up for grabs. Pennsylvania saw a close Senate run between Democrat John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz. Fetterman came out on top with just over 50% of the votes, with Oz receiving 47%. In Fetterman's campaign, he promised voters he would support the elimination of the Senate filibuster or the 60-vote threshold for most legislation. This is what Fetterman has to say about his win.
And this campaign has always been about fighting for everyone who's ever been knocked down that ever got back up.
Moving to Ohio, where we saw a tight turnaround, Republican J.D. Vance took an open Senate seat, defeating Democratic Representative Tim Ryan with 53.3% of the votes. Vance secured the win around the economy and more security at the southern border. He also supports the outlaw of abortion, divorce, and pornography. Going down south, Georgia is looking at a runoff in early December for their Senate seat. Incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock and Republican Herschel Walker are both short of the 50% threshold necessary to win. Right now, Warnock is leading at 49.4% of votes, and Walker is behind at 48.5%. In Georgia, voters said the economy was their main focus. And that's all I have for politics tonight. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Julia. We will be keeping an eye on all election results for you. To keep up to date, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30 News.
On our Twitter today, we posted a poll asking you, did you vote in this midterm election? Out of the total number of people who participated, 57% said they did vote, with 43% saying they did not. To see our future polls, make sure to give us a follow. Now, before we head to our next commercial break, let's find out what the weather will be like for the next few days. I'm hoping for sunny skies and no rain. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. We welcome our Master of Meteorology, Ethan Logan, studio. He has our weather preview right now. Ethan?
Wow, Clever. Master of Meteorology. I really only hope I can live up to that title. Now, I'll have the full 7-day forecast as well as temperatures from around the state in a little bit, but first let's take a quick look at some of the temperatures in the coming days as well as today. So as we saw today, not too bad of a day. Nice sunny skies. It'll be the same case for tomorrow. High 53, low 39 today. I'm sure if you've been outside recently, you've definitely been feeling the colder weather, as that's certainly coming around the corner and it's coming fast. Tomorrow, high of 65, low of 51. That's probably going to be one of the nicest days for some time, so make sure you get outside, enjoy that warm weather. And then you see, as the weekend approaches, we'll start to see some rain clouds in the sky. Get your umbrella ready, get your raincoat ready. High of 68, low of 64, so still some high temperatures, but I'll have your full 7-day forecast as well as temperatures from around the state after this break.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it. He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back to the Q30 Newscast. The university is offering a COVID-19 booster clinic from noon to 4 p.m. on Thursday, November 4th on the Mount Carmel campus. The clinic will be held in the lobby of the Recreation and Wellness Center. Students are also required to bring an official ID, their health insurance card, and their COVID-19 vaccine card. Q30 spoke with Senior Medical Advisor Dr. David Hill about the importance of getting their booster shot.
Now we're bringing Harvard Healthcare to campus to give boosters. Let's take advantage of that for your own health and for the community of Quinnipiac. You know, I think we have considered COVID to be a mild illness, but that isn't the case for all people, and still hospitalization rates, you know, are too high in Connecticut, and so we want to protect older people like myself or those with medical problems.
Get your checkbooks ready to go. Quinnipiac University has announced the tuition due dates for the January and spring 2023 semesters. Tuition will be due on December 15th, which is less than 2 months away. Billing statements will be available on Quinnipiac's self-service websites for students to review. Make sure to get your payment in before the deadline comes.
Earlier this evening, Quinnipiac's Gender and Sexuality Alliance organization held a Queer at QU event. Queer faculty and staff here at Quinnipiac spoke to those who attended about their personal stories about being queer. Veronica Jacobs, the Associate Director for the Multicultural Education, opens up about her story of coming out to her family and the hardships of being raised in a homophobic household.
I don't think I have a big story where I actually came out to my parents. They know, but there's never been a conversation about it. And I think that's more me protection of not feeling like I need to have to defend who I am. But it is what it is.
A Quinnipiac student is making a difference in his community by running a food pantry.
Law student Rajan Deering operates the Glow Food Pantry out of his church in Wallingford. Q30's Tim Malone had the chance to tour the pantry and meet volunteers who help those in need.
As we enter the season of giving, Quinnipiac Law School student Rajan Deering is working to deliver food for anyone in need of it. For 4 years, Deering has been working at a food pantry in Wallingford, Connecticut, called Gleanings Lovingly Offered in Wallingford, or GLOW, at the Church of the Nazarene.
Our church was starting the program a few years ago. We had an opportunity for a donation source, so we decided to take advantage of that. Actually, when we first started, it was just for our congregation. Then as the amount of food grew, we were able to open it up to the wider community as well.
When people arrive to the pantry, there's no screening on income or where they live. Rajan has had the opportunity to help a large variety of people over his 4 years here.
We've had a lot of people who have come through just in really difficult situations. There's one lady I think of, when she came in, she was homeless and she needed a lot of services beyond just food, so we were able to help get her connected with a lot of housing services, health services, and so on.
I love the people that come in. They're just really nice, and they've shared some of their stories and how this has helped them. We pray over it and we pray for them sometimes if they want. It's really nice. I enjoy it.
The volunteers are a very tight-knit group. We're all really close. And even the people coming through, people start coming through week after week. We're still a small enough program that we get to know at least some of the clients who come on a regular basis and be able to see the impact that it's able to have on them.
You can catch Rajan here every Friday working at the Church of Nazarene, and anybody interested in getting involved should reach out.
You can reach out to me at any time. My email address is glow, G-L-O-W, food, W-L-F-D, @gmail. and my phone number is 203-208-8534. We're always looking for more volunteers. Also, if you have need for food, you could feel free to come by. And if you have any donations, we would love to receive those as well.
Thank you so much, Rajan.
Thank you.
For Q30 News, I'm Tim Malone.
Thank you, Tim. Clever. It's great to see Quinnipiac students supporting those in need and volunteers giving their time.
Yeah, that was a very heartwarming story, so I hope it stays warm as winter is coming. With more on weather around Connecticut right now, we turn it back over to Ethan Logue.
Yeah, thanks, Clever. Thanks, Tino. It was a very strange week in weather this past week. We saw temperatures in the 70s over the weekend, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but don't expect any of that anytime soon. Now, as I mentioned before the break, it was a pretty sunny day today. It's going to be a sunny day tomorrow. Tomorrow probably will be the last time for a while you're going to be able to go out, enjoy the warm weather. High of 65, low of 51. Then we start getting into the weekend. That's when the rain comes in. Friday and Saturday, it's going to be rainy. A high of 68, low of 64 on Friday, but it's still wet weather. Going to need that raincoat, going to need that umbrella. Saturday, high of 69, low of 41. Then we transition over to Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Sunday, a high of 51, low of 32. You're starting to see those freezing temperatures come into play. It's starting to feel like November, and that's for sure. The winter, as we all know, is just around the corner. Now let's start to transition over and take a look at temperatures around the state of Connecticut. And as you'll see on your screen, it's 40s all around. 40 in Torrington, 41 in Hartford, 40 in Norwich, 45 in New London, 46 in New Haven, a little warmer by the water, but 40 in Danbury. As I said earlier, if you've been outside recently, you definitely are starting to feel that cold weather. That's the latest in weather. I'm sending it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Ethan. It looks like we'll need to break out the umbrellas this weekend, but clear skies, they're coming soon.
Not happy about the umbrellas, but Clever, I most certainly look forward to that weather next week, as well as the next part of our show. After the break, when we come back, Hamden celebrates Veterans Day.
Plus, we take a look at the national news. Stay with us on Q30 Newscast.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Welcome back to the Q30 Newscast. Veterans Day is coming up on Friday. Every year, the university does a flag-raising ceremony to honor all veterans. The Director of Veteran and Military Affairs, Jason Burke, explained how students can give back to the veterans on campus by attending events put on by the university. Burke thinks the veterans on campus help diversify the student population.
Quinnipiac ranks amongst the top schools for active duty members and veterans in the country. The school also placed 3rd in the 2022 Military Times Best for Vets ranking. Student veterans who have left the service go on to integrate themselves in the campus community here at Quinnipiac. Q30 News spoke to student veteran Destiny Smith about adjusting to life at the university.
I just started coming to Quinnipiac maybe a little under a year now, and I've really been enjoying my experience as a veteran, especially with Mr. Jason Burke. He's been very helpful with the adjustment and just being an advocate for veterans.
Earlier this evening, author Brian O'Hare visited the university to discuss his new book, Surrender, based on his life experiences. O'Hare spoke in the Piazza about his personal journey that led him to write this book, including his various careers, inspirations from creativity, and even military service. His goal is to inspire students to become problem solvers, be fearless, and make the storytelling process more open to all.
This November 11th, veterans and active military members can eat for free around Hamden. Special deals and discounted prices will be offered at restaurants around town. The Trinity Bar and Restaurant will be hosting a breakfast in partnership with the New Haven VFA. Commander Charles Pickett thinks that this year's event will have a big impact.
Trinity has been a very large supporter of the veteran community and making the veteran community build and build. We just had a fundraiser there. Raised thousands of dollars for the 2 posts, and this year we're looking at 50, 75 people. They love it.
The Trinity Breakfast will be taking place at 8 a.m. on Friday. Veterans will need to bring proof of service to partake.
So let's zoom out from local news to see what's going on in the bigger picture around the United States this week.
Griffin Cass joins us in studio for our weekly look at national news. Griffin, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Santino and Clever. There is a lot to talk about for national news this week, so let's get started. The United States Border Patrol have been confiscating migrants' personal documents such as passports and birth certificates. Due to officials not returning migrants' personal properties, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection is reinforcing their policies of releasing a migrant from their custody with their belongings unless advised otherwise. The Director for Immigration and Cross-Border Policy, Cardinal Brown, says that by not giving migrants their documents, problems can arise, thus making it harder for migrants to continue their process in court. Moving on to news in Florida. While Florida residents are trying to recover from Hurricane Ian, subtropical storm Nicole is headed their way. This Monday, the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared this storm as an emergency across the state's counties. DeSantis encourages residents to prepare for what could be ahead by paying attention to announcements and listening to emergency officials. Hurricane Nicole is predicted to reach Miami and West Palm Beach late tonight or early tomorrow. By tonight, winds potentially could reach 45 miles per hour. Even if Hurricane Nicole reaches its maximum strength, officials say it would not eclipse Hurricane Ian's force. For the last story tonight, the World Meteorological Organization states that in the past 8 years, it has reached the highest temperatures in recorded history. According to the UN agency's provisional state of the global climate, when looking at an 8-year gap from 2013 to 2022, the global average temperature was around 1.14 degrees higher than before 1900. Officials have notified for years that to prevent serious impacts of climate change, the world needs to stay below a global average of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Climate disasters cause economic loss and can start wildfires in the West, as well as sea levels rising in coastal cities. That's all for this week's national news. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks for our look at national news, Griffin. So that is all going around the country right now, but we have to go to another commercial break. When we return, we will have sports with Brittany Braun-Lieben.
Plus, New York fashion hits New Haven. Stick with us here on the Q30 Newscast. We'll be right back.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
We're back on the Q30 Newscast. Clever, we're both producers for Q30 Sports, and it's time for our favorite segment.
Let me guess, is it time for the sports report?
Yes, it's time to kick it over to sports. We'll go to Brittany Braun-Lieben to break down the latest stories in Quinnipiac athletics.
Thank you, guys. Let's get right into sports. Men hockey played 2 games in Hamden this weekend. Let's see how they did. The men's ice hockey team played Colgate on Friday and were able to win with their first in-conference game of the season. The Bobcats won the game 3-2 with a comeback in the third period. The game-winning goal was scored by graduate student Ethan DeYoung. Then on Saturday, they were able to beat in-conference rivals Cornell Big Red with a score of 2-0. Both the Quinnipiac's goals were scored by sophomore Jacob Killian. After winning both games this weekend, Quinnipiac was able to move up in the rankings from number 7 to number 5. The Bobcats' next game will be on Friday, November 11th at Brown. Now, switching locker rooms, let's talk about women's ice hockey. The women's ice hockey team played 2 away games this weekend. On Friday, they lost their first game of the season against the Yale Bulldogs. Yale, the number 1 team, was able to win against the Bobcats with a score of 4-2. On Saturday, the Bobcats bounced back and defeated Brown with the score of 4-1. Third-year Olivia Mobley scored 2 goals in this game. The Bobcats will look to continue their win streak against the Clarkson's Golden Knights next weekend. Let's move outside and talk some women's soccer. The Women's Max Soccer Tournament was held this week at Quinnipiac's very own turf. The Bobcats first took on the Canisius Golden Griffins on Thursday for the semifinals and won with a score of 1-0. The lone goal was scored by Rebecca Cook off a penalty kick. On Sunday, the number 1 Bobcats played in the championship game against the number 3 Niagara Purple Eagles. Quinnipiac was able to win with a score of 4-0. Goals were scored by Courtney Chokol and Cook. This would be the first time in Quinnipiac women's soccer history that they win a MAC championship. This is the first time since 2000 that the women's soccer team will be heading to the NCAA tournament. The Bobcats' next game will be Sunday against Penn State in the first round of the tournament. That's all I have for sports. Back to you guys on desk.
That was fantastic, Brittany. Thanks for that. And before we go, for all you fashion fans out there, a New Haven store is bringing hip new clothing style to Connecticut.
Q30's Vanessa Blasi had the chance to check out Mini PNG, a local shop with a dedication to unique fashion design.
Connecticut-born fashion designer Eris Hammond brought her dream to the streets of New Haven in early September, opening her first clothing store. The 23-year-old designer wows customers with unique designs and pops of color throughout the store. Yet Hammond did not get here on a straight path. She was a pre-law major before the pandemic led her to take a break from school.
Which is like literally insane because technically speaking, if I never took that break, I would not be here.
The store is filled with abstract handmade purses, shirts, shoes, and even drawings on the walls.
I have like this signature like little creature thing, and that it literally just kind of evolved from drawing like abstract faces.
It all began with this tank top that blew up on Depop. Since then, Hammond dedicates long hours to create clothes that mean something to customers.
And I make them one of one, so there's never 2 of the same thing, and that allows like the promotion of individuality, because I feel like when somebody picks a specific piece, it speaks to them personally.
These clothing racks are filled with items you cannot find at your local store. Eris Hammond said she spends an average of 5 hours working on each piece, just like this shirt right here.
Actually, on my tag, if you flip the tag, it literally says this piece took blank amount of hours to make. I feel like that was just yesterday. I was sitting in my bedroom drawing on Procreate for my graphic design Instagram, you know what I mean?
Now, making more money than she would have in law, Hammond's next steps are to take her brand to New York City.
If you do what makes you happy, then you'll always be successful at it, because it's not work.
For Q30 News, I'm Vanessa Blasi.
And that's all the time we have on this week's Q30 Newscast. Thank you for tuning in, and a shout out to everyone behind the scenes that makes this show possible. For more Q30 News content, visit our website at q30tv.com or follow our Twitter account at Q30 News.
And please download the Q30 app, which is now available on the App Store and Google Play. For Santino Maione, I'm Clever Streich. Good night from Hamden.